want to have a conversation in this week's training, and we're doing this quite a bit at the moment, just about something that was raised by one of our clients in one of our coaching programs. And it was all about they're getting ready, they're moving into their first ever launch. So, as an emerging speaker, they're getting everything together to really get it going and getting moving and finding those first really important gigs. And obviously, part of it that is making sure that your digital footprint is clean and that we're active across where we want to be active on the platforms. And the question was, how often should she be posting? That she felt overwhelmed by how much she should be getting done with LinkedIn and with Instagram, and starting up a Facebook group and things like that. And what we had to do was pull it back to basics. So when you are not used to posting content all the time, you need to build the muscle. So you need to make a commitment to be consistent rather than be prolific. Right. So when you are first starting out and really building and cleaning up your digital footprint, your content, you need to make sure that you are consistent rather than prolific. And what I mean by that is it's not about dominating the platforms and having an incredible amount of content go out and being ever present, things like that. If you are finding your way and learning how to do this and you are still building a rhythm, then I would rather see you post consistently once a week on LinkedIn, for example, and then build it when you get used to that to twice a week, to 3 times a week, to 4 times a week. The other thing is build your presence on your lead platform. Now, what I mean by that is unless and until you have a team or VAs or something helping you out with this, understand what platform works best for you. And that's not necessarily where you should play, but it's the one you're most comfortable doing. So, for example, I play on one a lot more than I play on the other, and I've got to actually build the muscle in another one because that's actually where my audience sits. So, as a speaker, you should always be building your LinkedIn presence because that is actually where you publish content and you get known. So, LinkedIn, the way that we describe it in our programs, LinkedIn is where you actually build audience with people who will go to contract with you and pay you. Right. So that's the LinkedIn audience. Instagram is where you build an audience who will crave and demand you. You will get a lot of opportunities, but it takes getting up to a significant amount of followers for them to be paid necessarily. So LinkedIn is where you build your audience of people, of raving fans, people who demand to see you. LinkedIn is where you build the people who will actually engage and pay you. And Facebook is where you build depending on your audience. So you need to really understand your audience. As an emerging speaker, though, I always recommend build LinkedIn, build Instagram. Don't try to do both at once if you're not already active on any of them, but lead with LinkedIn generally. Now, the other thing is that the question about a Facebook group, I see too many people think that they've got to actually have a Facebook group going, and the only way a Facebook group works is if you are really good at content production and constant engagement, right? You have to, there are coaches and consultants who create 6, 7, and 8-figure revenue out of their Facebook groups. It's not that it doesn't work as a strategy, but when you actually have limited bandwidth, you need to make a decision. And as an emerging speaker, you may not actually ever need a Facebook group. If you are speaking to drive a coaching business, it will probably be part of your strategy, but it doesn't have to be part of your strategy all at once. As somebody who wants to position themselves as an expert, whether you are an emerging and aspiring expert speaker, whether you would, professional speaker, whether you're doing it as an expert business builder, or you're a charity and movement creator and accelerator, whichever one of those three that you're doing it for, the best thing you can do is publish great content that becomes shareable. Right. So rather than actually have it behind a firewall in a Facebook group, have it on LinkedIn or Instagram or even Facebook if that's where your audience is sitting, but have it so that you're actually publishing great content that is shareable and visible outside of the firewall. Right. So Facebook groups are useful if you've got the time and the bandwidth to build and nurture relationships and to actually be able to add and create value, but it's going to be behind a firewall. Now, if you're actually wanting to expand your audience, that actually doesn't expand your audience. Facebook groups run well, will expand and grow your coaching business and sometimes your consulting business, but you are much better off if you're looking to position yourself as a go-to person through speaking. You're much better off publishing great content on LinkedIn, followed by building your Instagram presence, than actually going with a Facebook group that will take significant parts of your time, but keep your presence invisible because you're behind a firewall. That is a very personal opinion. It is not backed up by science or data. So take that as you will. But I want you to understand that when you're first starting out, if you can just get consistent rather than prolific, then half the battle is already won. So instead of going, oh, I've read this and I need to post 7 times a week at this time of the day, and I need to do this and I need to do that, and everything needs to be video based, everything needs to be that. Choose one thing that you can produce really easily that captures some of your best IP, and produce it your way once a week on the platform of your choice, and then build it to becoming twice, build it to becoming 3 times, build it to where you want to take it to. Cannot recommend that highly enough. And just to recap on the Facebook group strategy, if that is part of your marketing strategy, grow your business, then fantastic. And we've got some resources we can link you into. But if it's actually just because you think you should do it, don't do it. Right? Especially, as I said, as an emerging speaker, if you are aspiring to be a professional speaker, an expert speaker, you may never actually need a Facebook group. And you cannot make that choice at the start of your speaking career. So choose one, choose well, commit and go. Okay.